You're walking down a street you've never been on before. A stranger passes by. You catch a glimpse of their face, and then it hits. You've been here before. Not similar, not reminiscent, exactly this. This moment, this stranger, this angle of sunlight, the smell in the air, the sound of traffic in the distance. You know you've lived this exact moment before. But that's impossible. You've never been here. You've never seen this person. This moment has never happened. Yet your brain is screaming at you. Yes, it has. You remember this. For a few seconds, reality fractures. Past and present collapse into each other. You're experiencing something that feels like a glitch in the matrix. A tear in the fabric of time itself. And then it's gone. The feeling evaporates. You're back in normal time, left wondering what the hell just happened. This is déjà vu, French for already seen. And 97% of people have experienced it. Scientists have been studying it for over a century. They've scanned brains, induced it artificially, mapped its patterns. And what they've discovered is deeply unsettling, because déjà vu isn't just a harmless quirk of memory. It's not just your brain making a simple mistake. It might be evidence that your perception of reality, of time itself, is fundamentally broken. That what you think is a continuous stream of experience is actually fragmented, reconstructed, manipulated. Some researchers go even further. They think déjà vu might be proof that we experience the future before it happens. That time isn't what we think it is. That's somewhere in your brain. You might already know what's coming next. Welcome to the mystery of déjà vu, where neuroscience meets the impossible, where memory becomes prophecy, and where the question isn't just, have I been here before? The question is, when exactly is now? Let's start with what we know for certain. Déjà vu is an anomalous memory experience, a feeling of familiarity without actual recognition. Your brain insists something is familiar, but can't tell you why or when you experienced it before. It's paradoxical. You simultaneously know you've never experienced this moment and feel absolutely certain that you have. Two contradictory truths existing at once in your mind. The experience typically lasts between 10 to 30 seconds, sometimes just a flash, rarely longer than a minute. And when it passes, you're often left with an eerie feeling, like you've brushed up against something you weren't supposed to notice. Most people have their first déjà vu experience in childhood. The frequency peaks in your teens and 20s, then gradually decreases as you age. By the time you're elderly, déjà vu becomes rare. But here's what's strange. The more educated you are, the more likely you are to experience it. People with higher incomes report it more. Frequent travelers experience it more. People who remember their dreams report more déjà vu. Why? Nobody knows for sure, but it suggests something important. Déjà vu might not be a malfunction. It might be a feature, something that emerges from a more active, more observant brain. Not all déjà vu is created equal. Researchers have identified several distinct types. Déjà vu, already lived. The most common form. The overwhelming sense that you've lived through this exact moment before, in precise detail. Déjà senti, already felt. A purely mental sensation. No visual recognition, just a feeling that you've thought this exact thought before. Déjà visité, already visited. The eerie knowledge of a place you've never been. Walking into a building and somehow knowing what's around the corner. Knowing the layout of a city you've never visited. Then there are the rarer, more unsettling variations. Jamais vu, the opposite. Something familiar suddenly becomes alien. You look at a common word and it stops making sense. You see your own hand, and for a moment, it's like it belongs to a stranger. Presque vu, almost seen. That tip of the tongue feeling stretched across reality. You're about to remember something important. It's right there, but you can never quite grasp it. Each type suggests something different is happening in the brain. Different circuits misfiring, different processes colliding, or, as some researchers now suspect, different windows into how consciousness actually works. Humans have been experiencing déjà vu for as long as we've had brains capable of self-reflection. Ancient Greek philosophers described it. Medieval scholars wrote about it, but they had wildly different explanations. Some thought it was prophetic, evidence of precognition, your soul remembering the future. Others believed it was proof of reincarnation. Fragments of past lives bleeding through into present consciousness. The scientific study of déjà vu began in the late 1800s. A French philosopher named Émile Boirac coined the term déjà vu in 1876, but it was neurologist John Hewlings Jackson who first suggested it might be related to epilepsy. He noticed that patients with temporal lobe epilepsy often reported intense déjà vu experiences right before seizures. Their brains would flood with this overwhelming familiarity, followed by convulsions. This observation changed everything, because if epilepsy could trigger déjà vu, that meant it was neurological, physical, something happening in the circuits of the brain. But that just raised more questions. If déjà vu is a malfunction, what's malfunctioning? If it's the brain making a mistake, what mistake is it making? And most importantly, why does it feel so real? Let's talk about what déjà vu actually feels like from the inside. Because the subjective experience is what makes it so compelling, so unsettling. People describe it as a glitch, a momentary overlap of realities. Some say it feels like two timelines briefly syncing up. Others describe it as remembering the present. There's often a cognitive dissonance. Part of your brain knows this moment is new. But another part is absolutely insistent that you've been here before. The conflict between these two certainties creates a kind of mental vertigo. Some people report a brief feeling of precognition during déjà vu, like they know what's about to happen next. They can predict the next word someone will say, the next action in a scene. But when they try to vocalize it, the knowledge slips away. Others describe a sensation of timelessness. Past, present, and future collapsing into a single eternal moment. For a few seconds, linear time seems to break down, and almost everyone reports the same thing. An eerie, uncanny feeling, a sense that they've glimpsed something they weren't supposed to see, like they've momentarily perceived the underlying machinery of consciousness itself. Modern neuroscience has pinpointed where déjà vu happens in the brain. And it's not a single location. It's a network, a system, primarily centered in the temporal lobes. The temporal lobes sit on the sides of your brain, roughly behind your ears. They're responsible for memory formation, face recognition, language processing, and something called semantic memory. Your database of general knowledge about the world. Within the temporal lobe is a structure called the hippocampus. This seahorse-shaped region is your brain's memory indexer. It doesn't store memories, but it creates them and helps you retrieve them. Right next to the hippocampus is the parahippocampal cortex. This region processes context and familiarity. It's what gives you that warm feeling of recognition when you see your childhood home or smell your grandmother's cooking. And this is where things get interesting, because in déjà vu, these two systems seem to misfire simultaneously. Your parahippocampal cortex signals familiar, while your hippocampus searches for the actual memory and returns not found. The conflict between these two signals creates the déjà vu experience. It's like your recognition system firing without your memory system backing it up. A false positive in your familiarity detector. Dr. Alan Brown from Southern Methodist University has studied déjà vu for decades. He's developed what's called the dual processing theory. Here's the idea. Normally, when you experience something, two processes happen almost simultaneously. First, your brain perceives the event. Second, it tags that perception as new and begins encoding it into memory. But what if those two processes get slightly out of sync? What if, for just a fraction of a second, the memory tagging process fires first? Your brain would register the event as a memory before consciously perceiving it as happening now. You'd be remembering something as you experience it, creating a false sense of having lived through it before. It's an elegant explanation, and it fits with what we know about temporal lobe function. But it doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain why déjà vu feels so specific, why it involves such vivid detail, why you can sometimes predict what's about to happen next. And it doesn't explain the people who claim to have experienced déjà vu for events that then actually happened later. The ones who say they're not remembering the past, they're remembering the future. Here's a wilder hypothesis proposed by Dutch psychiatrist Herman Snow. Your memories aren't stored like files on a hard drive. They're distributed, holographic. Any small fragment of a memory contains information about the whole experience. Think about a hologram. Cut it in half, and you don't get half an image. You get the whole image, just lower resolution. Every piece contains the complete picture. Snow argues that memories work the same way. A single sensory detail, a smell, a sound, an angle of light, can trigger an entire memory because that fragment encodes the whole experience. So what if déjà vu is your brain recognizing a genuine fragment of a memory, but failing to retrieve the complete context? You experienced something similar years ago. Same lighting, same emotional tone, same type of environment. Your brain recognizes the holographic fragment and signals, "I know this," but it can't access the full memory, can't tell you when you experienced it. So you're left with this ghostly sense of familiarity, a memory without a timestamp, a recognition without recall. It's compelling, but it still doesn't explain the most bizarre cases. The ones where people insist they're not recalling something similar. They're recalling this, exactly this, in perfect detail. Dr. Stephen Curler from the University of Western Ontario proposed something different. He thinks déjà vu might involve a split in perception itself. Your brain doesn't actually perceive reality in real time. There's a delay. Your consciousness lags behind reality by about half a second. What you think is now is actually the very recent past, reconstructed and presented to you as present experience. Usually, this reconstruction is seamless, But what if something disrupts it? What if you perceive the same moment twice through two slightly different neural pathways? First pass, your brain processes the information unconsciously. Second pass, half a second later, your conscious mind perceives it. But because you already processed it unconsciously, it feels familiar. You are experiencing something for the second time. But the first time was unconscious. Your brain recorded it without you knowing. This theory has some experimental support. Researchers have found that the brain's familiarity system can activate before conscious recognition. You can know something before you know it. But again, this doesn't explain the prophetic quality some people report. The sense of knowing what comes next. The feeling that you're not just repeating perception, but actually accessing future information. Remember John Hewlings Jackson's observation about epilepsy. That connection has proven crucial to understanding déjà vu. Patients with temporal lobe epilepsy experience chronic, intense déjà vu. For them, it's not a rare, brief experience. It's frequent, overwhelming, sometimes lasting minutes. By studying these patients, researchers have learned to induce déjà vu artificially by stimulating specific parts of the temporal lobe during brain surgery. Neurosurgeons can make people experience instant, powerful déjà vu on demand. One patient during surgery for epilepsy had her rhinal cortex stimulated. She immediately said, "I've been here before. I know this room, this exact situation." But she'd never been in that operating room before. It was impossible for her to have lived that moment. These experiments prove that déjà vu is physical, neurological, the result of specific brain activity in specific regions. But here's the unsettling part. If you can create the experience artificially, how do you know your normal experiences of reality aren't equally constructed, equally artificial? If a neurosurgeon can make you feel certain you've experienced something you haven't, how certain can you be about any of your memories, any of your experiences? Maybe déjà vu isn't showing us a malfunction. Maybe it's revealing the truth that all experience is constructed, all memory is fabrication, and the line between real and false, past and present, is far blurrier than we want to believe. Now we enter controversial territory, because some researchers think déjà vu might be related to quantum mechanics. And before you dismiss this as pseudoscience, consider who's proposing it. Physicists, legitimate, published physicists working at respected institutions. They're not claiming déjà vu is quantum magic. They're suggesting something more subtle and more disturbing. They think déjà vu might be evidence that consciousness doesn't experience time the way we think it does. In physics, there's a concept called the block universe. It comes from Einstein's relativity theory, and it suggests something radical. Time doesn't flow. The past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Imagine time as a loaf of bread. Each slice is a moment. All the slices exist at once in the complete loaf. From outside the loaf, you could see every moment, past, present, future, simultaneously. But you, trapped inside the loaf, can only experience one slice at a time. Your consciousness moves through the slices, creating the illusion that time flows, that the present is special, that the past is gone, and the future doesn't exist yet. But according to block universe theory, that's wrong. Every moment exists eternally. You at age 5, you right now, you on your deathbed, all exist simultaneously in different slices of space-time. So what if déjà vu is your consciousness briefly accessing the wrong slice? What if, for a moment, your awareness touches a moment you haven't consciously experienced yet in your journey through the block? You'd perceive it as memory, as already seen, because in the block universe, it did already happen. It's always been there. You just haven't gotten to it yet in your linear journey through time. Dr. Darrell Bem, a psychologist at Cornell University, conducted experiments that shocked the scientific community. He tested for precognition, the ability to perceive future events. In one experiment, he showed subjects 2 curtains on a computer screen. Behind one was an image. Behind the other, nothing. Subjects had to guess which curtain hid the image. They did it before the computer randomly selected which curtain would show the image. The results: subjects guessed correctly 53.1% of the time. That's statistically significant, above chance. As if they could sense which curtain would be selected in the future. Bem published 9 experiments showing similar effects. The scientific community erupted. Critics tried to replicate his work. Some succeeded, others failed. The debate rages on. But here's what's relevant. If any form of precognition is real, if information can somehow flow backward through time, then déjà vu might be exactly what it feels like. A memory of the future. Maybe your brain occasionally receives echoes from moments that haven't happened yet in your linear experience, but already exist in the block universe. And when you reach that moment in normal time, you recognize it because you've already processed it once before from the future. It sounds insane, but quantum mechanics already allows for retrocausality, for effects preceding causes under certain conditions. the physics doesn't rule it out. Remember Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff. Their theory that consciousness might be quantum mechanical. If they're right, if your brain does utilize quantum effects in microtubules within neurons, then déjà vu might be a quantum phenomenon. In quantum mechanics, particles can exist in superposition, multiple states at once. An electron can be in two places simultaneously. It's only when you observe it that it collapses into one state. But here's the weird part. Quantum particles can also become entangled, connected in such a way that affecting one instantly affects the other, regardless of distance. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. What if moments in time can become entangled the same way particles do? What if your present moment is quantum entangled with a past or future moment? Information could flow between them, not through normal causality, but through quantum correlation. During déjà vu, maybe you're experiencing quantum entanglement between different moments in your timeline. You're not remembering the past. You're not predicting the future. You're experiencing quantum superposition of temporal states. You exist in both moments simultaneously, past and present, or present and future, overlapping, interfering with each other like waves. And for a brief moment, before the quantum state collapses, you perceive both. You experience the impossible, being in two times at once. There's one more possibility, one that's gained traction in recent years among physicists, philosophers, and tech pioneers. What if we're living in a simulation? A computer program so advanced we can't tell it's not real. If that's true, then déjà vu might be a processing error, a cache problem. The simulation accidentally loading the same data twice, or failing to refresh memory properly, or reusing procedural generation algorithms. Think about video games. Sometimes they glitch. Textures repeat. NPCs say the same line twice. The environment momentarily stutters or duplicates. From inside the game, if the characters were conscious, they might experience those glitches exactly the way we experience déjà vu, a momentary sense that something just repeated, a brief impression that this moment already happened. Tech entrepreneurs like Elon Musk estimate there's a significant probability we're in a simulation. Philosophers like Nick Bostrom have argued the statistics favor it. And if they're right, déjà vu stops being mysterious. It's just the matrix glitching. Your consciousness briefly noticing the seams in the simulation, the repeating patterns in the code. It's the most unsettling explanation. Because if it's true, every experience you've ever had, every memory, every sensation, every emotion might be nothing more than data in a program you can't escape. For most people, déjà vu is harmless, weird but brief, a momentary glitch that fades quickly. But for some people, it doesn't fade. It intensifies. It becomes chronic. And when that happens, it stops being a curiosity and becomes a nightmare. In 2014, a 23-year-old British man developed persistent déjà vu. It started normally enough, a few experiences here and there, but then it accelerated. Soon, every experience felt familiar. Every conversation felt repeated. Every scene looked like he'd seen it before. Watching TV became impossible. Every show felt like a rerun, even new episodes. He stopped watching news because he felt like he already knew what happened. He refused to travel because every new place felt like somewhere he'd already been. Eventually, he became housebound, terrified of new experiences because they no longer felt new. His life became a prison of false familiarity, an eternal loop where nothing was ever fresh or novel. Neurologists examined him, found no epilepsy, no tumor, no obvious brain damage. His déjà vu had no clear neurological cause. It was functional, possibly psychiatric, but utterly debilitating. He's not alone. Researchers have documented dozens of similar cases. People for whom the barrier between memory and perception has completely broken down, who can no longer trust their sense of time, who live in a perpetual state of uncanny recognition. Then there's the opposite, chronic jamais vu, where the familiar becomes alien, where you lose the ability to recognize anything as known. Imagine looking at your own face in the mirror and not recognizing it, seeing your hands and feeling like they belong to a stranger, reading common words that suddenly look like meaningless symbols. One patient developed this after a minor head injury. Every time she looked at her children, they looked unfamiliar. She knew intellectually they were her children, could remember their names, their birthdays, their personalities. But when she looked at their faces, felt no recognition, no warmth of familiarity. She described it as living with strangers who insist they're my family. The emotional disconnection was devastating. She loved her children, but her brain refused to feel that they were hers. This condition reveals something profound. Familiarity isn't just memory. It's an emotion, a feeling generated by specific brain circuits. And when those circuits malfunction, you can remember everything about something without feeling any connection to it. Not all pathological déjà vu is neurological. Sometimes it's psychiatric. People with anxiety disorders report more frequent déjà vu, especially during panic attacks. The disorientation of déjà vu can trigger anxiety, and anxiety can trigger more déjà vu. A vicious cycle. Depersonalization disorder, where you feel detached from yourself and reality, often involves intense, disturbing déjà vu. Patients describe feeling like they're watching their life through a screen. Nothing feels real. And yet, simultaneously, everything feels repetitively familiar. Some researchers think chronic déjà vu might be a form of obsessive-compulsive disorder, the brain getting stuck in a recognition loop, unable to move forward, checking and rechecking whether this moment is new, never quite satisfied with the answer, and in rare cases, severe schizophrenia can involve déjà vu-like experiences, but twisted, distorted. The person becomes convinced they're reliving the same day over and over, or that time has stopped, or that they're trapped in a temporal loop they can't escape. These pathological forms reveal the dark side of déjà vu. What seems like a harmless quirk can, under the right circumstances, become a dissociative nightmare. A complete breakdown in the basic experience of temporal continuity. But even non-pathological déjà vu can trigger something darker. An existential crisis, a questioning of reality itself. Because once you experience déjà vu, you can never quite trust your sense of time again. You felt absolute certainty about something that was absolutely false. Your brain insisted with total conviction that something had happened before when it hadn't. If your brain can be that wrong about something so fundamental, what else might it be wrong about? How many of your memories are real? How much of your experience is genuine perception versus reconstruction? Some people who experience frequent déjà vu develop a kind of temporal paranoia. They start questioning everything, keeping journals to verify which experiences are actually new, second-guessing their memories constantly, because déjà vu reveals an uncomfortable truth. Your experience of reality is not reality itself. It's a construction, a simulation your brain creates for you. And sometimes that simulation glitches. Once you see the glitch, you can't unsee it. The seamless illusion of continuous experience is broken, and you're left wondering, how much of what I experience is real? And how would I even know if it wasn't? Strip away all the theories, all the speculation, all the quantum mechanics and simulation hypotheses. What does déjà vu actually reveal? It reveals that consciousness is not a passive receiver of reality. Your brain is constantly predicting, modeling, constructing. What you experience as the present moment is actually a sophisticated fabrication, a story your brain tells you about reality. Normally, this fabrication is seamless. But déjà vu is a crack in the facade, a moment where the machinery becomes visible, where you catch your brain in the act of constructing experience. And that's profound, because it means you've never actually experienced reality directly. Not once in your life. Everything you've ever perceived, every sight, sound, sensation, has been filtered, interpreted, reconstructed by your brain. You live inside a simulation, not a digital one, a biological one, generated by neurons. And déjà vu is proof. Let's address the elephant in the room. What about the people who swear they predicted something during déjà vu? Who claim they knew what would happen next? Most scientists dismiss this. They say it's false memory, hindsight bias, your brain retroactively convincing you that you predicted something you didn't. But a small number of researchers aren't so sure, because there's been too many documented cases, too many specific predictions, too many instances where someone wrote down their déjà vu experience before the event concluded, and it matched. Maybe, just maybe, there's something to the precognition hypothesis. Maybe consciousness doesn't only move forward through time. Maybe, under certain conditions, it can access information from moments that haven't yet occurred in your linear experience. This would require a complete rethinking of how time works, how consciousness works, how reality itself works. But quantum mechanics has already forced us to rethink reality once. Maybe it's time to do it again. Remember how I said déjà vu decreases with age? There's something interesting about that pattern. Young people with their plastic, rapidly developing brains experience more déjà vu. Their neural circuits are still forming, still being optimized, maybe more prone to slight misfires, but also maybe more open, more sensitive, more capable of perceiving the cracks in consensus reality. As you age, your brain becomes more rigid, more efficient, more locked into specific patterns. You experience less déjà vu, but you also experience less wonder, less sense of possibility, less awareness that reality might be stranger than you think. Maybe déjà vu isn't a malfunction we grow out of. Maybe it's a feature we lose, a capacity that atrophies, a window into the nature of time and consciousness that gradually closes as we age. Children report the most déjà vu. The elderly report the least, as if the ability to perceive temporal anomalies fades as the brain calcifies, as if we trade mystery for stability, wonder for certainty. So what is déjà vu? After all the research, all the theories, all the brain scans and experiments, what's the answer? The truth is, We don't know. It might be a dual processing error, a split in perception, a holographic memory fragment, a quantum temporal entanglement, a simulation glitch, or something we haven't even thought of yet. But here's what we do know. It's real. It's universal. It's been with humanity for as long as we've been conscious. And it's showing us something important about how we experience reality. Maybe the point isn't to solve the mystery. Maybe the point is to pay attention to it, to notice when the seamless experience of time fractures, to recognize that consciousness is far stranger, far more mysterious than we usually acknowledge. Because in that moment of déjà vu, you're experiencing something impossible. You're existing in two times at once, past and present, present and future, memory and prophecy, reality and construction. You're glimpsing the seams in the simulation. Whether that simulation is biological, digital, or something else entirely. The next time you experience déjà vu, don't dismiss it. Don't brush it off as a simple brain glitch. Stop, pay attention. Notice the feeling, the uncanny certainty, the impossible familiarity. Because in that moment, you're not experiencing a malfunction. You're experiencing the truth. That time is stranger than you think. That memory is not what it seems. That consciousness itself might be far more mysterious and powerful than science has yet discovered. Déjà vu, the moment you've lived before, or the moment you'll live again, or the moment that exists eternally in all times at once. The mystery remains, and maybe that's exactly how it should be.